I'm Gerson Borrero, editor-at-large for City and State, New York, of course. We're here today to do an update with Javier Nieves, who represents the campaign, chairs the campaign for Fair Latino Representation. It's a group of different organizations and individuals who came about, I think, at the beginning of this year, 2015. We sat down with you, I think it was back in May, first few weeks of May. You are dealing along with others for your concerns about the lack of Latino representation in the Bill de Blasio administration, Mayor de Blasio. I know we did this in the first interview, but I want to make sure that people understand. You were a supporter. You worked in Brooklyn to get the mayor elected. You voted for him in the Democratic primary. So you've known Bill de Blasio for 2 decades already?
Easily, yes.
Okay, so I just want to make sure. Welcome back, Javier. Javier was an assembly member, so you know the body politics, and but you are by profession an architect.
Well, I'm not a registered architect, but I'm certainly, I work with architectural firms.
Okay,
Do architectural work.
All right. So give me an update. Last week, I reported in a Heard About Town piece, story, that there was a meeting, and I started checking out, somebody gave me a call, that there was a meeting set up of Latinos with the mayor or at City Hall. In further checking, after talking to 7 people, I reported there was a meeting to convene. It turned out that Campaign for Fair Latino Representation wasn't even included, and that it was the brainchild of what we call in Spanish, alcahuete, lambeojo, not you, this is me. And those are people who were sucking up to the mayor, Luis Galding Acosta, who heads up Los Sures in Brooklyn, El Puente, right? And Arnie Segarra, who's a longtime Latino dating back to John Lindsay, who's already retired. Where were you ever approached? I know that there's a memo that we even published. Have you ever heard from Mayor de Blasio? I mean, we talked last time, and I said, would you call him? If he calls you, you sort of talk to him. Where are you guys at right now?
Well, the Campaign for Fair Latino Representation, which is certainly a conglomerate of organizations and leaders in the Latino community throughout the city of New York, that got together to address the issue of underutilization of the Latinos in the municipal workforce, and or for that matter in this administration, this new administration, because we saw that although Mayor de Blasio started on the right foot and started making the right appointments initially, and we were very hopeful, it certainly went on the decline after that. The first few month, I gathered to say, and so there is a big concern within our community, and that we are once again having to wait your chance, putting our hopes on an individual that, as you well stated, I helped get elected and was hook, line, and sinker with him. I still hold on to hope sometimes, and maybe that's foolishness from my part, but I'm the eternal optimist, and I believe that hopefully this mayor will see the light and not listen to some of these individuals that he's been listening to as it relates to our community. We were a big part of his election, and we will continue to be a big part and play a bigger part in the future elections of the city of New York. And certainly but to answer your question, which was whether I was reached out to or the campaign was reached out to, better stated, no, we have not been since the last interview with City and State. We have not been reached out to, so that certainly lends itself to our perception of what's happening internally with the de Blasio administration.
To be clear, what you're saying is there's not enough Latinos that he personally could select to be members of his administration. That's on one end. In other words, but that's not the only issue. You're just not asking for jobs for certain individuals.
Absolutely.
You're talking about in municipal government structure.
Absolutely. I mean, we've submitted to him a listing of recommendations as it relates to the once again the underutilization of Latinos in the municipal workforce throughout the city of New York, and it's not exclusive to the mayor, but certainly because we've had two previous administrations that were not very friendly towards the Latino community either. We put our hopes on Mayor de Blasio.
Those two being Michael Bloomberg
and Giuliani.
And Rudy Giuliani.
And Rudy Giuliani. But be that as it may, so we sort of like accepted, because of the fact that traditionally Latinos have not voted Republican, that, you know, that came with the turf. But it's turning out to be that this is not no different than the previous administration as it relates to the Latino community. We are not talking about simply people wanting jobs. You know, that's not what we're talking about. We're not here to promote anyone to any position. We don't even have the convocation power to get the mayor to sit down with us. So how are we going to?
But wait a minute. In fairness, correct me if I'm wrong. You have met with at least two commissioners, or is it one already? So in other words, the mayor may not be recognizing you, but there are individuals, commissioners, who I assume got the clearance in agencies. They got the clearance from City Hall to at least start conversations.
Yes, we've
is it one or two that you've met with already, or heads of agencies?
For the record, I mean, what we have embarked on, being that the mayor has not seen fit to meet with us, and certainly had this other group sort of like quote unquote kitchen cabinet type.
By the way, their term that they use in an actual,
this is not our term in any form of way, and
right.
We certainly don't want to disparage anyone. We've always maintained ourselves above the fray when it came to that, and certainly this is their creation, and certain people that have lent themselves to this underhanded game actually even went in and presented our recommendations to whether.
Wait a minute, who presented?
The recommendations were supposedly submitted by I believe it was by Luis Gardner Acosta, according to.
You're kidding me.
This is what was stated. Again, I'm not at liberty to express who stated it, but I know that to be, and if eventually that.
Wait a minute, you set out a set of recommendations.
Yes.
Directed
To the mayor.
to the mayor.
Yes.
This group headed by Luis Gardner Acosta, you don't have all the different, who heads El Puente in Williamsburg, in Brooklyn. He took that and he presented it as their own?
Well, that's the way we're interpreting it, pretty much as if, you know, he took these recommendations and took them with him to this meeting. I'm not certain if this meeting was with the mayor himself, but certainly with the community assistance unit. That's Marcos Carrion and Roberto Perez.
And Roberto Perez.
And Roberto Perez.
Roberto Perez is one of the people that he has out there
Yes.
sort of saying, oh, it's only 18 months, and
right,
just
exactly.
like Arnie Segarra, they gave us time.
Absolutely.
We've done all kinds of stuff. He's a salaried person. He's a deputy commissioner
Absolutely.
at the Community Assistance Unit. Roberto Perez, who was brought in, makes at least $100,000, which is
from what I hear.
good for you, Roberto.
Yeah.
But if the mayor is ignoring you, which is that fair to say he's ignoring you? Why do you insist? You know, in Spanish we have it say, el que se dobla mucho se le ve el fondillo.
Exactly.
He who bends down too much, you know, his ass will show.
Absolutely, yes.
So I'm asking you, why do you continue to ask for a meeting with a person who just is not interested?
Well,
and
this goes to your previous question to completely answer it. We've put that to the side, and we've decided to reach out to his commissioners. And
so you've given up on the meeting with the mayor?
We
You leave the door open.
We leave the door open, but we're not making any forthcoming overtures to the mayor to meet with him. So we've decided to reach out to the commissioners, and to that end, we have sent out about 5 or 6 different requests to meet with different commissioners, from Human Rights Commission, from the Law Department, to actually even the appointments director, the new appointments director, and I have received correspondence from about 3 of them stating that they are looking for dates and they're getting informed about the issues that we're concerned about, and that they will be in contact
But you
shortly.
did meet with one.
And we did meet with one commissioner from the employment equal employment practice commission.
Okay.
Commissioner Terry, executive director Terry.
Okay.
And it was a very productive meeting. I thought it was more a fact-finding type of meeting. We put forth our recommendations. They were very pleasant and open to some of the suggestions. So obviously they were not told not to meet with us, so they must have gotten the green light from the mayor's people or the mayor himself. So because they respond directly to the mayor, from my understanding. But certainly is one of those commissions that have audit power over 141 agencies in the city of New York, and they have this interfacing, for lack of a better term, with DCAS, which is the agency that breaks down the numbers for this audit that they do.
Javier, to put this in context, because I realize that as city and state, and as people are viewing this, there is a huge percentage, at least 30, maybe 35% of New Yorkers who maybe only saw the first mayor being Michael Bloomberg, and that's the only thing. They have no historical context. The tradition of New York is to have ethnic groups. Italians did it, Jews did it, the Irish did it, blacks have done it. To be able to use that, can you give me some context of why it's so important for government or municipal work, or even at the state level, to have access to those jobs that are entry-level jobs in civil service, or even managerial jobs in civil? Can you give me some context as to why the persistence? You're a professional. Other people in this campaign for Fair Latino Representation have their own already, if you will. So you're not just saying, well, why is this important?
It's important because we're talking about groups that have traditionally been discriminated against in terms of job employment, workforce employment, and in particular, for example, there's even a sort of a side note as it relates to not a side note, but an issue in particular even to the Puerto Rican community, specifically in differentiating it from the rest of the Latino community, because we're American citizens. And even as American citizens, the Puerto Rican community has been discriminated greatly in terms of employment in the city of New York. So in the same manner that the African American community has been discriminated against. So there is this protected class from that legislation has been passed in Congress that needs to be given special attention, sort of to bring them into the fray. And that has not occurred. And so every time, and his history has been that traditionally mayors paid specific attention to this. And that is sort of being done away with. And there is a lack of transparency as to how they're doing these things. And certainly we saw this past week in these programs where there's a script being given out as to how do you address these issues.
They're talking points, no doubt. But let me tell you something. You were an elected official. You're Puerto Rican. You're from Brooklyn. I don't hear anybody in the city council, taking up the charge from the campaign for Fair Latino Representation. The speaker is Puerto Rican. She hasn't taken up your cause. That's Mark-Viverito. You have city council members from Brooklyn. You have defending the mayor, as far as I can see. Not one has taken on the mayor. Why? Is it political convenience? Is it that they're afraid of the mayor? Did they forget they're Puerto Ricans, Dominicans, or Mexican in the case of one?
I think it might be all those issues. I think a lot of the city council members are new. They're learning their way around. I'm sure that the whip has been snapped several times to some of them, but more importantly than that, I mean, that's letting them off too easy. They're elected officials and they got there to represent their constituents, and certainly they have been reached out to by our campaign to meet with them. I certainly spoke to Richie Torres,
the Bronx.
From the Bronx, and spoke to him, and an extremely articulate, intelligent young man who knows the issues, and shared with him our concern. I'm part of a different group other than and I wasn't there having this meeting with him as the chair of the campaign, but certainly I used the moment to address and to let him know that we were interested in meeting with him, and made some overtures, and to the point where I sent him an email requesting that. I've not heard from him since. And so...
But that's a council member from the Bronx, a new, he's
Absolutely.
a novice.
Absolutely.
He's excellent, has tremendous potential.
And
but wait a minute, what about the other power structure in city government, which is the speaker?
The speaker.
Melissa Mark-Viverito, she's from El Barrio, she's there representing a district. Has she responded? Has she met with you? Has she asked you for further information?
No.
Has she tried to facilitate a meeting?
I know that we have made overtures to her and have reached out to her. And initially she was interested, but that she didn't. The information was simply that she didn't have the time at that time, and I don't know if we convinced her that this is such an important issue in the Latino community to the point that she would give us an audience. So, and that has not occurred. So I mean,
when did this happen? At the beginning, I just want to get
at the beginning, over a year and a half ago, possibly.
Oh, but wait a minute. There's been something's happening. Maybe now is a good time. Have you tried recently? I mean, she's not getting along with it. I mean,
well,
I don't know. It's like
we have not tried recently, but certainly that the door is open. We make the invitation to her.
Do you continue to send these elected officials information that you put out? Many of them, I don't think all of them are part of a mailing list that we put out there. So we reach out to the audience through our general membership. We also reach them through our Facebook and our Twitter, and so therefore I'm sure that they are informed. The only person that really was met with us and actually came to one of our press conferences was Inez Dickens. Inez Dickens from Harlem.
From Harlem, she came to our a protest press conference that we had over close to a year ago at the steps of City Hall that we had several hundreds.
Okay.
And she was there. She was the only elected official who was there. And so that.
But by the way, that was the one that Loki Rivera from the Bronx, an activist, jobs activist, and
Right.
from Harlem. He wound up, it was the first person that I heard that Bill de Blasio would be a one-term mayor. It was the first time he started a one-term, I remember that. Let me ask you this. I heard also, correct me if I'm wrong, that you've circulated or you put together or are about to announce a convention or a gathering, a forum in October, as
Yes.
early as October.
Yeah, so that people are clear, we are not in, people have tried to portray us as job-seeking members or people who are directing a campaign for self purposes, egocentrical purposes. That's not the case. We have been working not only in terms of bringing out the conditions that under this new mayor the Latino community faces, which is that still we're being underrepresented and underutilized in his appointment, which is dire, is only like 12% in his administration. So, but part of our program is that we've gone there to prepare a document on policy issues as it relates to the Latino community. And towards that end, we have embarked on creating forums. First of all, a citywide forum, as you all stated. The first one is a citywide forum that's a select group of people. It's not going to be open to the general public, of leaders. This is for leaders and community-based organizations that we will be reaching out to them with 2 different panels, and this will take place in October.
October
2nd.
But it's only by invitation.
By invitation only, and then that's his first.
What do you expect to happen? Is that to develop an agenda?
To develop an agenda. It's to develop an agenda.
But don't you have already an agenda? Or you're broadening it.
We're broadening, but this is more on a policy issue with those and zeroing in on those issues that particularly, not just jobs, but issues of housing, economic development, education, all labor, all those issues that have that make up the quality of life that the residents of the city of New York partake in, and certainly that it's needed for, and the Latino community in particular is in more dire need of addressing. And we haven't had, in a real substantive way, a lot of these forums or issues taking place. I don't know in recent history of any other group reaching out and doing this.
So Campaign for Fair Latino Representation will have this convene, expand the agenda.
Expand the agenda, and this is not just a one-time activity or forum. We're going to be having after that borough-wide forums, and then after that we will have a citywide summit. So it's not just a one-shot deal. This is to compile data, information, and get the community
So you're going to be around for the 2017 mayoral election.
I would imagine so.
Okay, Javier Nieves, Campaign for Fair Latino Representation, will invite you again after that convention or forum October 2nd. For City and State TV, I'm Gerson Borrero.